Hi, I'm Sonam Wangchuk. We are in the trans-Himalayan part of northern India, in Ladakh to be specific. These very high altitude parts, and of course those by the oceans, are the forefronts of climate change. And in Ladakh we have been seeing flash floods with our glaciers melting very fast in July, clubbed with now some monsoon clouds which couldn't cross because of the Himalayan barrier are crossing, and when these two meet we get flash floods, and flash floods wash away all the fines and greens that are absorbent in the mountain valleys, causing droughts the next year. And this becomes an alternating series of floods and droughts. Now here in Ladakh, we are not sitting on our hands. We are trying to do whatever we can do. We have had a tradition of people going and building or grafting glaciers, man-made, to secure water, and inspired by such people who have been working on something that we could call artificial glaciers. We at our institute, Himalayan Institute of Alternatives in Ladakh, HIAL, we have been making what we call ice stupa artificial glaciers, conical giant ice forms which, because of their geometry, melt only in the summer when water is needed, and are made during the winter when nobody farms and the glacial melts still trickle away into the Indus and into the oceans. Apart from that, we have been working on mitigating our own impact on climate by working on various innovations to build solar heated mud houses that are made with natural materials like clay and soil locally, and with the bright sun that we have. And then we are sharing this with within Ladakh and in the whole region through this institute, HIAL. So we have courses and collaborations with the various other states and countries in the Himalayas, like Bhutan, like Nepal, Sikkim, neighboring Pakistan also, to see how they can also benefit from such work that we are doing. On the other hand, apart from artificial glaciers in the valleys, we are trying to bring back the lost greens and fines in the valleys by promoting plantation of local drought-resistant shrubs and bushes like wild roses and, where possible, junipers, so that the mountain valley soils are held better, so that they can absorb the heavy rains and then release it slowly to take care of the droughts. Often when we are working on these greening and restoring of the valleys, or making ice stupa artificial glaciers, or promoting, redoing your house solar heated, people ask, where would you get the resources to do this at scale, to combat climate change? How do you scale it up? Where are the resources, the funds, and so on? I've always felt that, yes, individually we may find ourselves challenged with resources, but if you see, the world spends $2 trillion on defense budgets. US alone spends some 750 or so billion dollars. India and China in my region spends half of that. So there is a huge resource there, and it is for the defense of the citizens of these countries. And defense in future is not going to be, with soldiers fighting each other, neighbors. Defense is going to be exactly against this. Our biggest challenge and enemy, if you want to say, is going to be climate change. In front of climate change, countries like India and China squabbling over border lines will look like neighbors arguing over the fence line when a tsunami is coming. And in a few minutes, both of them will be washed away, and they're still arguing about where the fence should be drawn. So we better adapt and proactively make our defense budgets a defense of the countries against this eminent challenge. And therefore, I've always appealed to the military in LADAKH, for example, which is one of the highest militarized regions in India, to have least impact on the climate here, and where possible to actively help restore the damaged ecologies. And I'm happy to say that the military has more than cooperated and collaborated. So together with the Indian Army, we have been planting these vegetations to restore Himalayan valleys. They have been very forthcoming. Similarly, a huge amount of fossil fuel is burnt both in India, in this region, from the Indian side, the Chinese side, and the Pakistani side, to heat the shelters for the soldiers, because this is a very cold region, often called the third pole of the world. So you can imagine in -30, -40 temperatures how much oil is burnt to keep the soldiers warm. And we have been doing research and designing products for the military, and they have happily adopted. Now we are working with the military to, if possible, fully solarize all the military shelters, offices, and so on. So very soon you may see a serious cut in the CO2 emissions from the army in these cold regions. I would like to see similar cuts on the Chinese side, on the Pakistani side, and they would save so much money which could be put to better use, like education of their children, or restoring the damaged ecologies. And at the same time, you're no longer contributing to this disaster. So that's how military we are cooperating and collaborating with in this region. It's often a beautiful sight to see students, even venerable monks of monasteries and soldiers from the army, working together in the Himalayan valleys, planting vegetation to heal these damaged ecosystems. Apart from such local actions, regional cooperation, we want to work on global lifestyle change. So we realize that we may build our ice stupas or design our solar heated buildings, but that's not going to have a huge impact as long as people in big cities like New Delhi, New York, Beijing, Paris continue with their current lifestyle of like a party, with no tomorrow. So therefore, a year ago, we said we need to do something globally to change the world also. Audacious as it may sound, we, some tribals in the remote lost mountains of Himalayas, thought we should send an appeal, a kind of SOS call to the world to change their lifestyles. to give them the message that if you live simply in the big cities, we may simply live in the mountains. So we started on the 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi a campaign called I Live Simply, whereby we, through social media and general media, sent this appeal that people need to change their lifestyles if people like us, high in the mountains and those by the seashores, are not to drown or disappear. In order to make this message not preachy, we created a fun website like a crowdfunding site where you contribute to the planet, not in money, which not all have, and in any case money is not what the planet needs. What it needs is behavior change in the big cities. So we created this website where people can pledge that they would go from, say, using motor cars to trains, or aeroplanes to motor cars to bicycles, aeroplanes to trains, plant trees, go vegetarian, and each of these actions will be equated into dollars and registered on the site, because people understand the value of things in the price of things. So we thought, why not put a price and make them see the value of their actions? So this I Live Simply pledge or I Live Simply campaign is on a site called ilivesimply.com, where especially young people enjoy going, learning, and making a contribution in these ILS green dollars. I want to be a billionaire, not in the dollars that Bill Gates and Elon Musk care, but in these green dollars, which actually will perhaps save the world. If I had my way, I would change the basis of the currency from what used to be gold or now assets of a nation to the green assets of a nation, the trees that absorb CO2 and give oxygen. Oxygen is much more valuable at this time than gold. So that precious material can be the basis of your currency. Only when we tweak with maybe the fundamentals of economics can human beings change their behavior. In whatever way, by appealing SOS calls or by tweaking such things, maybe the pundits of the world can think about it on appeal of some tribals in the remote Himalayan regions like Ladakh. Maybe we need to change things in this world. And definitely I would give a call to the leaders of the world to please allocate your defense budgets to the true defense of this planet and humanity, not in this man-made calamity of wars that can be avoided. They are man-made. What is difficult to avoid, again mostly man-made, is climate change. So you must have your food where your mouth is, and your insecurity and your threat is more from climate than from neighbors. So at least in peace times, militaries of the world should be officially put on restoring the ecosystems and nature on this planet. Maybe, if needed, they're there for defense against the neighbors, but that should be more and more a thing of past, and more and more meaning of defense of nations should be defense against climate change. Thank you very much.